I arrived home 15 minutes ago and was astonished to find that my wife, Molly, wasn't back yet. She occasionally stayed late at work, but she usually got home before me and had dinner prepared by the time I walked through the door. Grabbing a beer, I was about to call her to ask about dinner plans when my phone rang. "Hi, dear. Are you still at work?" I answered, "Yes, Jack, but we're leaving now. I have a surprise for you that I think you'll like, or at least I hope you will." "I know I will," I replied, noticing an unusual excitement in her voice that made me pause. "We need to talk when I get home, so please be ready when I arrive. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Should I start dinner or grab something on the way?" "No, Jack, we won't have time for that tonight. Maybe later. But just remember, I love you and only you, and I can't wait to see you." "I love you too, Molly. I'll be waiting for you with open arms." Exactly 20 minutes later, Molly walked through the door, and the moment I saw her, something felt off. Her clothes were wrinkled, her stockings were missing, and her makeup and hair were slightly messy. "Wow, rough day." I asked, my brow furrowing. "You look a bit frazzled." She rushed to me, hugged me tightly, and gazed into my eyes. "Jack, you know how much I love you, right? And you know I would never do anything to hurt you." "Of course, Molly. Maybe I wouldn't kill for you, but I'd do almost anything else." "What's going on?" She hesitated, then continued. "You've always been so kind and loving, letting me make most of our decisions. You don't control me, and I love that about you. But over the past few weeks, I've been talking to my boss, Ralph, about our relationship. He had some ideas that made sense to me." Something in her tone made my stomach tighten. "Ideas?" "He made me read stories about submissive men who enjoy being dominated by their wives. He said relationships like that can be stronger, more thrilling." She bit her lip. "Jack, I found those stories incredibly erotic. They awakened something in me." I sighed, trying to stay calm. "Molly, yes, I let you make choices that make you happy, vacations, restaurants, movies, even my clothes sometimes. But when it comes to major decisions, our home, cars, investments, I take the lead. That's not submission. It's balance." She hesitated. "I understand that, Jack, but I started comparing you to Ralph. He's assertive, powerful. People follow his lead. He's an alpha male, dominant and in control. And you, well, you're loving, but maybe more of a beta. You just don't realize it yet." I clenched my jaw. "That's some third-rate pop psychology nonsense, Molly. What exactly are you getting at?" Her confidence wavered. "Ralph told me he's going to dominate me in bed. He said he'd show me a kind of passion I've never experienced before." A cold weight settled in my chest. "And what did you tell him?" She swallowed hard. "I let him touch me. I know it was wrong. I probably crossed a line, but it excited me. I've been fantasizing about him, imagining him seducing me in the office." My stomach churned. "Did you sleep with him?" She looked away. "Not yet, but on the way home, he touched me. He's outside right now in the driveway, waiting. He wants to come in so we can talk about this, so he can take me upstairs." I blinked in disbelief. "You're serious?" "Yes, Jack, and you might even enjoy it. Ralph thinks you will. He said men like you, submissive men, get turned on by this." She smiled faintly. "And after, you and I can have the best sex of our lives. I'll let you do anything you've ever dreamed of." I exhaled sharply, my hands clenching into fists. "Let me get this straight. You expect me to sit back and accept this? To watch you cheat on me?" "It's not cheating, Jack. It's exploring." I stood up. "Molly, you've already betrayed me. Emotional infidelity, physical betrayal, it's all the same." She flinched. "Jack, please just give this a chance. You'll see it'll be epic." "Oh, it will be epic, all right," I said as she turned to head upstairs. I made my move. I grabbed her handbag, taking her car keys, house keys, and phone. From her wallet, I pulled out our joint credit card. Then I headed to the kitchen, grabbing a towel, some zip ties, and my largest carving knife. Stepping outside, my heart pounded as I approached Ralph's car. He sat in the driver's seat, casually scrolling through his phone. When he noticed me, he smirked and rolled down the window. Ah, little Jack. So I assume Molly told you? Don't worry. I'll still let you have her when I'm done. At least for now. I didn't let him finish. I put every ounce of strength into a brutal left hook, slamming my fist into his nose with a sickening crunch. Blood spurted as he howled in pain. I tossed a towel at him. Here, Ralphie, you might need this. As he instinctively raised the towel to his face, I looped a zip tie around his left wrist, securing it to the headrest. Then I yanked open the car door and delivered another vicious punch, this time aiming for his so-called manhood. He doubled over in agony, but I wasn't finished. I grabbed his right wrist and zip-tied it to the steering wheel. Leaning in close, I whispered, "So, the big dominant alpha male can't even fight back? What a pathetic excuse of a man." I spotted a garden hose nearby, still attached to the steel spray nozzle. With a single swing, I shattered a side window, sending shards of glass raining over him. Then I moved to the front of the car and swung again, cracking the windshield into a spiderweb of destruction. The headlights were next, two quick, satisfying smashes. Breathing heavily, I leaned into the car and sneered. "Looks like your car needs some repairs, Ralph." Then I pulled the knife from my pocket, pressed the blade against his neck, and grinned. "Now let's give Molly that epic experience she was expecting." In my most menacing tone, I hissed, "How many times have you slept with my wife? Try to convince her that I would just accept this?" I saw the fear in his eyes as he stammered. "Only twice in the last few weeks. It meant nothing. It was just sex for both of us. Just let me go, and you'll never see me again." I looked at him like he was the lowest form of scum. "I'm not going to kill you, at least not right now. But if I hear anything from the police or if I face any problems because of our little conversation today, I will come back for you. If you go to the police, I might go to jail. Maybe I'll get out on bail, maybe not. Maybe I'll serve time, maybe not. Either way, at some point in your future, I will find you. Maybe in a parking lot on your way to your car. Maybe in an elevator at work. But I will find you, slit your throat, and spit in your face while I watch you die." I leaned over him, stabbed the knife into the passenger seat, and said, "Your lover, Molly, will need this to free you. So you can either get rid of her or take her to the emergency room. Whatever. Just make sure she's out of my sight." I walked back inside. The moment Molly heard the front door close, she called from the bedroom, "Is that you, Ralph? Come and take me. Did you sort things out with Jack?" My first thought was, what an unbelievable fool. Who was this woman? I replied, "Molly, Ralph is in the car. He wants you to go outside and talk to him. Seems like he might have changed his mind." A minute later, Molly came downstairs, dressed in the lingerie I had bought her, with a robe lazily thrown over it. "What happened, Jack? Did you reassure him that everything was okay?" "Molly, I assured him that his future depends on his actions. You should probably go out and talk to him." She looked at me, confused. "Jack, please remember that I love you, and this will make us stronger." "Of course, Molly. I already feel so much stronger." She smiled and walked out the front door. The moment she stepped outside, I immediately locked it behind her. I went into the garage, pressed a button to open the garage door, and as I headed upstairs, I heard her shouting, "What have you done, Jack? Come here." I ignored her, went up to the bedroom, and pulled out one of our suitcases. I grabbed a handful of clothes from her drawers, lingerie, bras, socks. Then I took some T-shirts, jeans, and sweaters from her closet and stuffed them inside. I went to the bathroom, throwing in as much of her makeup and toiletries as I could fit. After that, I returned to the closet, grabbed a pair of her tennis shoes, and made my way to the guest bedroom at the front of the house. Opening the window, I shouted, "Molly, over here! You might need this." Then I threw the suitcase onto the driveway. Some perfume bottles might have shattered, but that wasn't my problem. Next, I hurled the tennis shoes at her, aiming for her head, but she managed to dodge. "Jack, please, what are you doing? I was sure this was what you wanted. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you angry or hurt you," she pleaded. "I can't believe how cruel and vicious you were to Ralph. For God's sake, he's my boss. Please, Jack, let me in and we can discuss how to get through this." I shook my head in disbelief. Molly, I can't even begin to explain how ridiculous you've sounded since you walked through that door with your pathetic little plan to turn me into your cuckold. I wonder if you've had a stroke. Maybe you're on drugs. Or maybe I just never realized how shallow and pathetic you truly are. Whatever the case, it doesn't matter anymore. I want you out of here. Take your lover to the hospital. But on the way, be sure to ask him what will happen if I hear even one word about tonight's events from police or from anyone else. I'll pack the rest of your things in bags, and you can tell me where to leave them. But never, never dare to come back to this house again. I slammed the window shut, marched downstairs, yanked open the front door, and hurled her handbag at her. This time, I at least managed to hit her square in the chest before slamming the door shut again. I couldn't resist adding, "Is that enough for you, Molly?" Locking the door, I headed to the kitchen and cracked open my second beer of the day. I realized I needed to contact my lawyer immediately in case the police got involved. I also needed a recommendation for a solid divorce attorney. Curious, I walked over to the front window and saw Ralph shouting and cursing at Molly as she cut the zip ties. She threw her suitcase into the trunk, and he climbed into the back seat, lying down. Molly, still crying and looking utterly shaken, slid into the driver's seat, reversed the car, and drove off the driveway. As the adrenaline wore off, my body finally started to relax, but my mind was still reeling. I was in complete disbelief over what had just happened, over how far my wife had spiraled. But even more, I was stunned and somewhat unnerved by my own actions. In a fit of rage, I had come dangerously close to slitting Ralph's throat, and now, in hindsight, I realized he simply wasn't worth it. I laughed, thinking about the ridiculous lies he had fed Molly, how he had convinced her that he was the alpha while I was the beta, being a kind and understanding husband, letting my wife have a say in our decisions, and prioritizing a peaceful, happy marriage had all come from love, not weakness. But she had completely misread my kindness, mistaking it for submission, assuming I was some pathetic pushover who would let her cheat on me with a sleazy jerk like Ralph. Wow, I didn't see that coming at all. For the next few days, Molly stayed away. I kept getting calls from unknown mobile numbers, and I could only assume they were from her since I had confiscated her phone. Eventually, she left a voicemail, pleading for me to call her back so we could talk things through. I knew it was only a matter of time before I had to face her, and since the police hadn't come knocking on my door, it seemed I had dodged a bullet. Now it was time to finish this messy business. I called Molly and told her to come over in an hour so we could talk. Then I hung up, finished packing every single thing in the house that belonged to her, and sat on the porch, waiting. When she arrived, I wasted no time. "Ralph told me you slept with him at least a few times over the past few weeks while he was filling your head with this ridiculous alpha-beta nonsense," I said, my voice steady. "Your lust outweighed the vows and promises you made to me. And that's after just 5 years of marriage. What happens in 7, 10, 15, 20? How many more times will you get bored and break those vows?" "Jack, I swear I will never do that to you again," she sobbed. "You already did it, Molly, so don't say never." I sighed, shaking my head. "I've given this a lot of thought. We don't have kids. We don't have much in savings. Our only real asset is the house, and even that barely has any equity. I've decided, Molly, that the risk to stay with you is far greater than any possible benefit. I'm convinced it's only a matter of time before you justify another affair to yourself. And given what happened with Ralph, next time you'll just do it behind my back." I exhaled sharply, looking at her with nothing but disappointment. "I don't trust you anymore. And worse than that, I've lost all respect for you. I cannot be with someone who doesn't respect me, and whom I no longer respect." Molly's face crumpled, and tears streamed down her cheeks as she broke down into uncontrollable sobs. But I didn't waver. "Molly, we're getting a divorce," I said firmly. "You'll keep your car, I'll keep mine. We can split our savings and sell the house. We're both still young, and I plan to move on, to find someone who actually loves and respects me for who I am." Her lips trembled as she shook her head frantically. "No, Jack. No. You have to forgive me. I need you. I love you. I truly respect you. It was just a mistake. I got caught up in something I didn't fully understand. You have to forgive me." I took a deep breath. My decision already made. "Molly, I'm sorry. But I've said all I needed to say. Now, it's time to move on with our lives. And if we ever cross paths again, let's just be polite, say hello, and keep walking." Without waiting for her response, I started loading her belongings into the car. When the last of her things was packed, I turned to her one final time. "Goodbye, Molly." Then I stepped back inside, closed the door, and locked it behind me, shutting the door on us. Thank you for listening.